All right. How are we doing, everybody? I'm Andy Malfrino. This is Drag the Lake. We're doing an album review. You guys know how we do this most of the time, I should say. Not all the time, but most of the time, I'll do albums come out. I go, oh boy, I'm excited to listen to this. I go listen to the full thing, make a reaction video on it. You can watch that on the DTL R&R page. And then I give my initial reactions to the album. Is this a definitive album review? No, none of them are. And no one should ever make a review claiming it is. This is just my initial thoughts after listening to it once. It does not validate or invalidate anything about your listening experience. I just like to talk about music on the internet. So hit the subscribe button and we can talk and argue and become lovers. All right. Anyway, keep planting flowers by Stick to Your Guns. I was very excited to get into this because a lot of the singles leading up to it were all very good. They had like 3 songs. I believe it was Severed Forever. Was it? No. I know it was Keep Planting Flowers, More Than Witness. And then, yeah, I think Severed Forever. And they had a good range of sound on it. Fast-paced songs with sing-songy choruses and a decent breakdown at the end. Sort of the old school Day to Remember formula, tried and true. A lot of people misunderstood it, fucked it up. Good bands really ruin a generation of bands. There were so many bands that heard the Day to Remember thing and they're like, oh, okay. So you just shoehorn a breakdown in the middle of a pop punk song and just have a completely unnatural transition? And it's like, no. That's why that song sucked ass and you were part of a trend and no one listens to you anymore. And Day to Remember still makes a bunch of money. And shit like that. But it's not all about money, guys. But yeah, so Stick to Your Guns sticks to that. They stick to their guns on this, guys. But no, they stick to that formula a lot. That is kind of, if you watch the full album reaction, it's kind of a joke I make through it. They do hit all the bases. It's like if you're watching a wrestling show and you want to see something new, but also you better do the things you do. You know, if I see a Stone Cold match, if I see Stone Cold come out, even in modern day, I'm like, cut a promo, do all that shit. I better see a stunner, Steve. I'm not trying to be pushy, but like, you're here. So you owe me a stunner and you owe me a beer. You know what I'm saying? It's the same thing. Rock comes out. Maybe it's a little different for The Rock because he's come out a bunch and he's just been teasing a match. So he's not just going to hit the people's elbow for no fucking reason. But you get what I'm saying. You see the match. If The Rock's wrestling a match, I want a lot of cool shit. But for the love of God, I better see a goddamn people's elbow. But and it's kind of like that with shit like this, where it's like, it's like, okay, you decide to lean a little bit more mainstream on this album. But they do it really well. And you kind of just accept that and you go, all right, give me all the things then. And they do all the things. They have real cool, fast verses. Definitely like some halftime sing-songy choruses. And I got to give them props because a lot of metalcore bands really fuck it up. And they show their ass by basically being a pop band that throws in a little bit of chugs. And that's going to set you up for a bad time. I think a better thing to do, be the hard band that gets soft. Because then you get soft with hard band intentions. When you're a pop band that gets hard, when you become hard, you do it with pop band intentions, and that's not a good time. I like my bands to be hard and get soft, not be soft and get hard. And that, I'm just talking about music. Anyway, but for real, all jokes aside, I think that's kind of where Stick to Your Guns approaches this. So the sing-songy shit doesn't sound fucking annoying. It's like one of my biggest pet peeves, but it's like I said, it's when the pop bands are trying to pretend to be a heavy band. That's when it fucking sucks ass, and Stick to Your Guns is not that. They're a heavy band trying to make popular music, trying to make more approachable music, and I think they're doing a good job. I think if you show this to any sort of rock fan, like younger preferably, I guess, but I mean, they've been around for 20 years, so maybe not necessarily younger. But like any rock fan in general that leans a little bit heavier, if you play this for them, they're not going to hate it. It may not be their favorite thing, but they're not going to fucking hate it. So I like how they're clearly trying to have a broader appeal, but not compromise their integrity. I think that's a big takeaway on this album. They're clearly going for broad appeal without compromising integrity, and I have a lot of respect for that. But yeah, they stick to the formula. It's got a decent flow to it. I was joking in the reaction as a guy who talks about a lot of music. I make not just music, like the news on my other shit, and I just talk a lot on the internet. When it comes to this music shit, as a guy who talks a lot on the internet, if you're only when I'm gonna do an album review and you let me know your album's only 25 minutes, from a work standpoint, I appreciate that as hell. Now, from the way this album flows, I think they could have benefited from maybe like 10 more minutes, because it felt like, but I will say this, actually, now thinking about it, it did keep me wanting more. So it may have been a good thing, and not like keep me wanting more like they didn't do enough, keep me wanting more like it was good, but I was like, I could still eat. You know what I mean? That was a great meal. If this is where it ends, I'm fine, but also I kind of want to have another one. You know what I mean? And I think that's good, because now for me, it's making me want to listen to Stick to Your Guns more, where I go, oh, is this like what they're like? Because I think, I can't remember, but I remember hopping into them. I was saying it on the reaction. I mainly listened to them a little bit when For What It's Worth came out, and then I kind of fell off, and I jumped back in, and it was a little more mainstream than I would prefer, and in a bad way. So I never really checked back in on them. But now that I'm checking back in on them, I'm like, oh shit, maybe they were better for longer than I realized. So, there is something. It's not a perfect formula. Obviously, I think if you're putting out an album and you're like under 20 minutes, I would say that's probably not. But actually, now that I'm saying that, I think, who did that? Throne? Their last album was like 19 minutes long. 20 minutes. Okay, 21 minutes rounding up. It was still good. And I think also one of my fucking favorite band, Kublai Khan, their last album was like 22 minutes long, I think. 23. Okay. Pretty on point with these numbers, by the way. Just saying. But yeah, so it's not, we were talking about before on the podcast. It's like 30 to 40 minutes feels like the preferred length, but it's not an exact science. I think it's just like what feels right, and especially too with these heavier bands, there's a lot of them. 40 minutes is going to be pushing it, because that's a lot to listen to over and over and over again. Having that high level of intensity, shit like that. So, who's to say 20, 30 minutes for like heavier bands may be the perfect pocket. It might be. It might be completely just taking away my assumed opinion on this. But yeah, man, it still had good flow. I think they could have used maybe one more song or two at the end, but at the same time, like I said, kept me wanting more. But it had good flow regardless. Very strong songs. It's definitely more mainstream than most hardcore bands, but if you're into hardcore, metalcore, heavy music like that, it's gonna have a lot that you like. It's even the most hardest of core fans, the metalist of core fans, we all like an old school Day to Remember song. And if you say you don't, you're lying. We all love a good old school Day to Remember song. And this is substantially heavier than those. So I think you're going to fuck with this. So if you haven't checked it out yet, give Keep Planting Flowers by Stick to Your Guns a listen. It's a good fucking time. Thank you for watching. We just dropped an episode. I think I'm going to try to upload this the day I'm recording it. So either today or yesterday, we just dropped a new episode. It's a really good time. And thank you for watching. Subscribe. Love you. I love you. I love you. Kiss me. Kiss me now. Don't even think about it. Just kiss me. Kiss me. Okay, bye.